Lena Peterson woke up to the shrill alarm at 4:30 in the morning. Her eyes burned with fatigue as she rubbed them, trying to shake off the persistent sleep. The two-bedroom apartment was silent, except for the hum of the old refrigerator that struggled to keep running. She reached out to the empty side of the bed, a habit that persisted even after nearly 2 years of separation, or rather, abandonment by her husband and father of her children. "Come on, Lena," she murmured to herself. "One more day." In the bathroom mirror, she examined the deep circles forming under her brown eyes. At 39, Lena still held the beauty that was once radiant, but it was now overshadowed by tiredness. Her brown hair, once always immaculate, was now quickly tied into a ponytail to save time. She moved silently down the hallway, stopping to check on her 3 sleeping children. Lily, 7 years old, was clutching a worn plush rabbit tightly. Michael, 10, was curled up like a ball under the covers. And Owen, her oldest at 16, slept with headphones on, probably having fallen asleep listening to music. It was his birthday that day. She had promised to do something with him later, and had made a simple cake for them to have breakfast together. Lena's heart tightened as she watched them. She felt she was failing them in some way, even knowing she was doing everything humanly possible. The journey to the neighborhood market where she worked in the morning was a constant battle with her car, which seemed to run more on hope than on mechanics. She had bought it with a bit of money she had saved. The dashboard had patches of silver duct tape where the plastic had cracked, and the passenger side mirror was fixed in the same position, also with tape. "Please, just a few more months," she pleaded with the vehicle as it coughed before finally starting. At the market, Lena put on the green apron that identified the employees and began organizing the shelves in the fresh produce section. The manager, Mr. Hoffman, a middle-aged man with a meticulously trimmed mustache, occasionally passed by, checking her work with a silent nod of approval. Lena was quick and efficient, qualities that kept her employed, even though the salary barely covered the rent. "Good morning, Mrs. Willows." Lena smiled at an elderly lady who frequented the store every morning. "Oh, good morning, dear. How are your little ones?" Mrs. Willows always asked about the children, often handing Lena chocolate bars to take home to them. "Growing up too fast," Lena replied with a genuine smile, which momentarily brightened her tired face. During a pause, Lena checked her phone and found a message from Owen. "Mum, can we have lunch just the 2 of us today? I wanted to celebrate my birthday at that restaurant we always used to go to. I miss those times. Please." Lena felt a lump in her throat. Owen was at the most difficult age when the separation happened. He had taken on the role of man of the house prematurely, often helping with his younger siblings and hiding his own struggles. She rarely had time alone with any of the kids, between her 2 jobs and all the responsibilities. "Of course, sweetheart. I'll pick you up after school." She sent the message knowing it would mean not having time to go home and change out of her uniform before her second shift of the day, cleaning medical offices. It also meant spending money she didn't have. But how could she deny this birthday request? The rest of the morning passed quickly. At the end of the workday, Lena said goodbye and rushed to her car, starting the reluctant engine and heading to Owen's school. He was waiting for her on the sidewalk, headphones hanging around his neck, a worn-out backpack slung over one shoulder. At 16, Owen was almost as tall as she was, with the same dark brown hair and contemplative look. When he got into the car, Lena noticed how tired he seemed too. "Hey, Mom," he smiled slightly, closing the door. "Hey, my big one. Happy birthday, my son. I love you very much." She hugged him tightly. "Shall we go then? Shall we go to that restaurant then, like we used to?" The old days, when Tom was still with them, when they had a house with a garden and not a cramped apartment, when Lena worked only part-time and could be there for dinner every night. "Sure," she replied, swallowing her emotion. They drove for a few minutes, chatting about school and Owen's friends. Finally, Lena spotted the restaurant with a different facade and a dark awning. It looked as cozy as before and didn't seem to have changed much. Upon entering, they noticed that the interior of the restaurant was more sophisticated than Lena had remembered. Soft lights, tables with white tablecloths, uniformed waitstaff. A knot formed in her stomach, but she kept smiling as they followed the hostess to a table for two. When the menu was handed over, Lena felt her heart race. The prices were astronomical for her tight budget. Everything had skyrocketed. Discreetly, she opened her wallet under the table. A few loose coins, a crumpled $10 bill, and a meal voucher that had expired the previous week. "Is something wrong, Mom?" Owen asked, noticing her expression. No, she smiled, trying to keep her composure. "I'm just thinking about what to order." Owen started talking about a science project while Lena was calculating frantically. Even the cheapest item on the menu would cost more than she could afford. Shame and despair mixed in her chest. "Owen, dear," she finally interrupted, "I think this place is a little too formal for today. How about we find something more casual?" Before he could respond, a waitress approached. Perfectly arranged blonde hair, a professional smile but cold eyes. "Have you decided what to order?" she asked, with a phone in hand to take the order. "Actually, we're just—" Lena began. "If you're not going to order," the waitress interrupted, her smile fading, "I'll have to ask you to leave the table. We have other customers waiting." Lena's face grew hot with embarrassment. She avoided Owen's eyes as she grabbed her purse. "Sorry, son. Mommy got confused. We're going to eat somewhere else." Her voice came out quieter than she intended. Owen nodded, but Lena noticed the disappointment hidden behind that restrained gesture. They started to get up, ready to leave in silence, when another employee approached. She was young, with a messy bun and kind eyes, even though they were marked by fatigue. Lena recognized her. The girl had worked there for years, and surely remembered her, from when she used to come with her whole family. And because they were near the counter, the waitress had probably seen everything. "Excuse me," she said in a low, gentle tone, extending a folded napkin toward Lena. Without understanding, Lena took it. Upon unfolding it, she found a handwritten note. "Table 9. Go there. I'll say it's on the house, it's all right." Lena looked up at the young woman, indeed recognizing her face from previous visits. The waitress returned a subtle smile and pointed with a slight chin gesture to an empty table in the corner. There was something in her gaze, a silent empathy, a kind of solidarity that needed no explanation. "What is this, Mum?" Owen asked. Lena hesitated. Her pride battled against the need to give her son this moment. Owen's hopeful eyes decided for her. "It seems they have a better table for us," she replied, trying to sound casual. They made their way to table 9, sitting down discreetly. Minutes later, the young waitress appeared with 2 dishes. Nothing extravagant, but well presented. "I didn't order," Lena began to say, but the waitress smiled. "I am Katie," she introduced herself, placing the plates on the table. "Our special of the day. On the house." Lena tried to protest, started to explain her situation, but Katie just shook her head. "I am a mother too," she said softly, leaning in so that only Lena could hear. "I've had days like that." Before Lena could respond, Katie moved away to attend to other tables. The lunch was delicious. Owen finally relaxed, telling stories about his friends and sharing jokes that made Lena genuinely laugh for the first time in weeks. For that brief moment, she allowed herself to forget everything else. When they finished, Katie returned with a small bag. "Some cookies for your other children," she explained, handing the bag to Lena. "And this." She extended a folded receipt. When Lena opened it, she saw it had no amounts, just a handwritten phone number on the back and a message. "If you ever want to talk about anything." "I can't accept," Lena began. "You can," Katie gently interrupted. "And one day you will do this for someone else. That's how it works." On the way home, the silence in the car was different. Comfortable, Owen was playing with the radio, finding a station with old songs that they both liked. "Mom," he finally said. "Yes, dear?" "Thank you for the lunch. It was perfect." Lena swallowed the lump in her throat. "You're welcome, my love." That night, after putting Lily and Michael to bed, finishing her cleaning shift, and finally allowing her exhausted body to rest, Lena looked at the number on the receipt. She hesitated only a moment before sending a message. "Hi, Katie. It's Lena from the restaurant today. Just wanted to thank you again." The reply came almost immediately. "I'm glad you reached out. How is your son?" What started as a casual exchange of messages turned into an hours-long conversation. Lena talked about Tom's sudden departure 2 years ago, leaving her with 3 kids and mountains of debt, about the 2 jobs that barely paid the bills, about the nights she cried silently in the bathroom so the children wouldn't hear. Katie shared her own story, a single mother of a 4-year-old boy, abandoned during pregnancy, balancing work at the restaurant with evening classes to become a nurse. The following week they met for coffee. Lena brought some clothes that her son had outgrown to give to Katie's son, and Katie brought an economical stew recipe that lasted for several days' worth of meals. Over time, a genuine friendship blossomed. They shared resources, advice, and the kind of understanding that only comes from having walked in similar shoes. 3 months after that first meeting at the restaurant, Katie called Lena in a panic. Her babysitter had cancelled at the last minute, and she had an important exam in her nursing course. And just on that day, it was Lena's day off. "I can pick up your son," Lena offered without hesitation. "He can stay with us tonight." "Are you sure? You already do so much." "Katie," Lena interrupted firmly, "this is how it works, remember?" 6 months after that day at the restaurant, Lena received an unexpected visit from the manager of the market where she worked. "Lena," Mr. Hoffman said, "do you remember Mrs. Willows who comes on Thursdays?" Lena nodded. It was that same elegant lady, who very much enjoyed chatting with Lena and always asked for help with small things during her shopping. "She is the owner of a chain of medical clinics. She is looking for a secretary for her new unit. She mentioned your name. I believe they pay well." Lena's heart raced. "But I don't have the qualifications for that." "She said what matters is your character, something about the way you take care of people." He handed her a card. "Call her. And Lena, we will miss you, but you deserve this." The interview was scheduled for the next afternoon. Nervous, Lena called Katie. "I don't know what to wear," she confessed, "nor what to say." 2 hours later, Katie showed up with a professional outfit borrowed from her cousin. "You'll do great," she assured, helping Lena get ready. And she did great. 2 weeks later, Lena started her new job. Regular hours, health insurance, and a salary sufficient to finally breathe without the constant weight of financial anxiety. On the first weekend after receiving her initial paycheck, Lena visited the restaurant with her 3 children. She requested the best table and waited until Katie appeared. "What's going on?" Katie asked, surprised to see them all. "We wanted to celebrate," Lena explained, "and thank the person who made it all possible." "And what did I do beyond what should be done?" Katie protested. "You did much more than should have been done," Lena replied, emotional. "You reminded me that I'm not alone. That sometimes all we need is someone who has been in our place to show us the way back to hope." Owen, who now smiled more frequently, added, "And we want you and your son to join us. After all, we are practically family now." Meanwhile, Katie sat down, visibly moved. Sometimes salvation doesn't come from grand gestures or dramatic miracles, but from small acts of kindness, from people who understand exactly what it means to have little, and for that very reason, know how much it's worth to share what they have. At that table, surrounded by the smiling faces of her children and the friend who had become family, Lena finally felt something she had lost a long time ago. The certainty that no matter how difficult the journey was, there is always hope. The future was still uncertain, but one thing was sure. Together as friends, They would face whatever came. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.